Tony Scarboni, everybody. Yeah, that's Kendra Sutherland, everybody. If someone I see people asking, but yeah, emailing a porn star, that's too much. All right, now the calls are coming in. Hello, thanks for calling Low Value Mail.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Who am I
Am
speaking? You are on the air. Slash, it's not really air because
Oh,
it's the
cool.
internet. But thanks for calling Low Value Mail.
Super cool. Cool. I'm calling from Barrie, Ontario.
Barrie, Ontario. Nice. I've been to Barrie, Ontario many times before. Many times.
Super cool.
So what's
I
up?
used to live in the West End of Toronto, but
Okay, so you got some
yeah.
tales of you being a simp or of someone simping for you. I would guess the latter.
Well, I was more interested in what you were talking about about love bombing.
Sure.
I have some. Yeah. So is it so like there's a difference between love bombing and simping. Love bombing is like where you intentionally sort of mirror someone's actions in order to make them fall in love with you, with the sort of nefarious purpose of manipulating you into either simping for them or into being in a relationship where they can just kind of be a parasite off you. Whereas
that's
what
love. So
genuinely.
Can you give me a real world example of love bombing where it's a negative? Because I don't know if I'm just too stupid, but the way you're explaining it, so some guy is like pulling out all the stops, and then what? I guess it's love bombing because 2 years later you're in a relationship and he's like doesn't have the same level of like pulling out all the stops, because that's every relationship.
Well, yeah, because I mean, obviously, when you're at the beginning of a relationship, you're both going to be wanting to impress each other, and
of course,
like put the best foot forward or anything like that. But I guess as a negative example, people who are considered to be narcissists or have narcissistic personality disorder might use love bombing as a technique to weasel their way into someone's life. So you really can pay attention to the kind of person they are. They're usually very perceptive, and then they use those skills to sort of weasel their way into your life. And basically,
you're like describing like most relationships, though. Like how many? Like we've changed how we feel about this so quickly as a society, because that was just understood that was like romantic if some guy got some woman who like wasn't interested in him, and then he found out what her favorite song was or her favorite flower. Like that used to be just like romantic, and then now we've like criminalized it. Not literally criminalized it, but it's become this like negative thing where if you find out like some woman's favorite song or make her a favorite meal, you're like, you're a creep.
For sure. But with love bombing, I don't think the person doing it really does love that person. They're literally just doing it for what's called narcissistic supply, which is a continuous validation of their ego.
Okay.
Because that's what they need.
So does love bombing never lead to a long-term relationship? Like, can you love bomb someone and then just be with them for 50 years and have a family and all that stuff?
Well, I think it depends, because I think maybe love bombing is usually something that's followed by devaluation. So the reason why it has a negative connotation is that love bombing, whereas you might have a honeymoon phase for a relationship. And
literally every relationship. Every relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's no different. Like people like get to know each other and then they're annoyed with stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But the love bombing phase will typically be after a period of abuse or a fight, like typical making up and everything's fine for a while, except that when two people make up, it's genuinely, or it's supposed to be because they both care about each other. Whereas someone who's love bombing is just looking to continue the supply of that ego, if that makes any difference. So like someone who simps will be like, oh, I know you love this song, and so I got you this CD or something like that. And they'll genuinely want that person to enjoy that thing, just like the guy you were talking about who got you the tickets for your ex-girlfriend.
That's not what he wanted. He did not want her to enjoy the concert. He wanted to weasel his way into being her date for the concert.
For sure, but yeah, that's pretty sus.
I mean, but guys do that shit all the time. But yeah, but love bombing, I've heard love bombing a lot in the context of at the beginning of a relationship. So you're saying like you're in a relationship and then you have a big blowout, and then the guy uses love bombing. But I mostly hear it in the connotation or context of like initially, right? Where it's like you're getting to know somebody and then you're love bombing them to essentially ingratiate yourself to them. I'm like, that sounds like every relationship I've ever heard of. To different degrees.
I guess except so like the term itself though is usually applied when someone is trying to manipulate their way into a relationship with someone they don't really care about. It's just for the validation. And although like all of us, saying to be
yeah. So in this context, you're saying it's for people who the moment they get the validation, they go, "That's all I needed," and then they leave.
Sometimes they leave, or sometimes what they'll do is they will start to criticize you or make you feel insecure about the love bombing. So like, why did you suddenly stop doing that? Or why are you not showering me the same? Like you're conditioning someone with love bombing to
but then you're saying
feel something about you that's not reciprocated.
Okay. And then when, I'm still confused. So you're saying that the love bomber does the love bombing and then the person who they love bomb is like, why are you not doing that anymore?
Yeah, so they'll intentionally
That's every relationship. That's like every guy who's like, hey, why don't I get blowjobs anymore? We're 5 years into this relationship. What happened to those?
You're talking about post-nut clarity.
No, I'm not talking about post-nut clarity. I'm just talking about being in a long-term relationship where, no more putting on airs. You're just kind of in it. And a lot of those kind of fringe things you all used to do are like, I feel like every woman complains about, guy, you're not as romantic as you used to be. Like, that seems common.
Oh, yeah, that's like two people getting used to each other. But imagine if the person you were with did that on purpose to hurt you.
I guess.
Just to make you confused so they could do it again. And it's like, that love bombing is part of an abuse cycle. So
okay, so
that's where the term is typically thrown around.
I will say that I concede that makes sense the way you're saying that, but I feel like that term is applied to just now any guy who is just being overly nice to get with a woman.
Oh,
like I see that all the time in the context of like, oh yeah, this guy like took me out to all these nice meals and we went on a vacation or whatever, and he bought me all this stuff, and he's like love bombing me, and you're like, yeah, he's just trying to get in there. It's competitive,
For sure. So do you think it's like a primarily male or female thing? Like if a female is doing simping behavior, but what if a female is doing simping behavior? I've had people simp for me, and I feel like I've kind of simped for people sometimes. I think it's just like...
Sure, but see how you threw in that sometimes there? Because that if you had to weigh all the simping that's you've done versus all the simping that's been done to you, it's not like an even thing, right?
For sure. I guess it just depends on if the girl wants that attention or wants like open possibilities, but it just seems like it's a pretty mean thing to do in general.
I could see if you're in a relationship, like once you're in a long-term relationship, I could see that being kind of fucked up. I agree, where you like do that and then you take it away and then you're really fucking with the person who's like, but to do it at the outset where you're just trying to get with somebody, like that's normal, I think. Or I'm an abusive guy, I guess. I don't know. I don't even do it. Like I don't even participate in that. But I just feel like that's not that crazy.
No, and it's not like that. Like I said before, normally people will want to put their best foot forward at first, and show everyone the best side of themselves. But I don't think that is technically love bombing, because love bombing is where if you're showing someone the best side of yourself, it's only because you want their attention in a validating way that you don't intend on reciprocating ever. So it's like
maybe, I can understand that. Yeah. I guess I'm just saying that I see that term now used a lot, not for that. It's become like this blanket term where you're like, oh, this guy's like really trying to get with me. He's like love bombing me. And you're like, what do you want? And then what'll happen is it'll go full circle where then these guys will be told like, hey, no more love bombing. And then women will be like, yeah, so guys like don't even try anymore. And they're like, well, we tried too much. And you said that was a problem. So now we're not going to try. And that's also going to be a problem.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, people just need to know what they want, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you who those people are not. And it's women.
You know what? I'll tell you that from first-hand experience. It's hard to choose. There are a lot of good guys out there.
I know. I'm sure there are when you're a woman, especially when they're all forced to compete against one another, all putting out all the stops.
Jesus.
Can I tell you, it's not what it's like to be a guy. Not at all.
Oh, God.
All right. Thank you for calling. I
All
appreciate
right.
it. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a huge fan.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks.